Hey there, this is going to be the explanation video that I promised you for worksheet 5.1 and 5.2 that we did in class today. I'm not going to do every problem on this worksheet just because a lot of them are repetitive, but if you can get one or two problems and see how those are done, I think the other ones will come easier. So let's just start on the front page with this number 1. It wants you to find the slope of the line that passes through the points, and we are always based on the formula slope equals, actually I'll put it in this form here. Let me just open this up. Well, it's going to take a minute. There we go. M being our slope equals y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2, where our y's are our change in rise and our x's are our change in our run. So there's that equation. That's what we're always going with. That is going to be your best friend. So this first one, our y for this one is going to be 5 and 1. So I'll actually type that one. 5 minus 1 over 2 minus 0. So I'm just taking my y's over my x's. And when I do this, I'm going to get 5 minus 1 over, which is going to be 4 over 2. And I'm going to end up getting 4 over 2, which is the same thing as just 2. So sorry for my struggle here. 5 minus 1 over 2 is, my slope is 2. Make that a little smaller. So rise over run, same thing every time. This one, it's going to be 1 minus 0, so that's 1, over 3 minus 0 is just 3. And I can actually check these and make sure they're right, because this here shows a slope of positive 2, so this is a positive slope. I know I'm right. This one here, another positive slope, but it's not a full number, it's just 1/3, so it's going to be much less steep. It's going to have a smaller slope than my first problem. So there's those two. This last one, you're going to get a negative slope, so that's how you'll know if you did that one right. Same thing going on down here. It's going to be y1. I like to do the one with the bigger number, so 6 minus 5 over 3 minus 2, which in this case is going to be 1 over 1. So my final answer is m equals 1. My slope is 1. For another one, we've got 1 minus 1 over negative 6 minus 6. Again, I'm just taking 1 minus 1, negative 6 minus 6. And that is going to equal a slope of 0 over negative 12. Now, one thing to know about 0 over 12 is it's the same thing as 0. This is not undefined. We're okay because the 0 is on top. It's not on bottom. So our final slope is just m equals 0. If that 0 was on the bottom, we would have an undefined slope. But again, it's on the top. I'm not going to go through the rest of these problems. They're the same thing. As long as you remember that you're doing y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. The biggest mistake that I'm seeing from all of my students is that you are doing the x on top instead of the y. So you need to remember that you are doing rise over run. Here's where we struggled quite a bit, was actually solving when the slope was given to us. So in doing these problems, how we're going to set it up is the exact same way as we did the ones before. We're still going to do our y1, which in this case is 9, minus our y2, which is 3, over our x's, which are 5 minus r. Give me a minute, I'm writing on my keypad here. And I'm going to set it equal to 2 because the slope formula says it's equal to m. But here's where people got confused. They were like, well, 9 minus 3 doesn't equal 2. That's okay. What we're ending up solving for is this r. And the way we do this is we put this number over 1. If it's already a fraction, we don't have to do this, but if it's a whole number, we do. Once we get here, we're going to cross multiply. We can do this because we have a fraction equal a fraction. And just a throwback to cross multiplication, we multiply top down, bottom up. So now I'm going to go back to typing here quick. 9 minus 3 is 6, and that equals 2 times 5 minus r. And remember, because I'm cross multiplying, this term has to go to both of these, so I put it in parentheses. Now I can just simplify and solve the way I'm used to. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times negative r is negative 2r. I move my 10 to the other side by subtracting. So I get negative 4 equals negative 2r. Notice the negative didn't go anywhere. The 10 moved over, but the negative is still out in front. Divide both sides by that negative 2, and you get r equals 2. Now, we can even go back. I'll make this a little bit smaller. We can go back and check to make sure this works, too. We can go and plug this in and say 9 minus 3 is 6. 5 minus 2 is 3. Is 6 divided by 3 2? Yes, it is. So we are good to go. So for this next problem, we're going to do the exact same thing. It's just this idea of continuing this process of the y1. Notice it doesn't matter which point I do first as long as I match my y's with my y's. 9 minus negative 3. 2 negatives go positive, so don't let that trip you up. Make sure you get both of them in there. 9 minus negative 3, 5 minus r. And it won't always be 5 minus r, we just happen to have two problems that went that way. And it equals negative 4. Now this is a whole number, so we have to put it over 1. And now we cross multiply the same way we're used to. 9 minus negative 3, this becomes a positive. We get 12 equals, top down, bottom up, we get negative 4 times 5 minus r. We simplify the same way we're used to. We get 12 equals negative 4 times positive 5 is negative 20. Negative 4 times negative r is positive 4r. Move that negative 20 to the other side. You get 32 because we add it over. Equals 4r. Divide both sides by 4 and you get r equals 8. When we go back and check to make sure our answer works, we get 12 on top and we get negative 3 because 5 minus 8 is a negative. 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4, so we know we did it right. Because these were tripping people up, I'm going to do one more. I'm actually going to do this 0 because this one I saw a lot of mistakes on as well. So I'm going to do y1 over here, so I'm going to do r minus 6 over 7 minus 4. Notice if I pick that first point to be y1, this also has to be my x1. I can't say this is x1 and y2. That's not how points work. So I set it up and then I set it equal to 0. This doesn't change that we have to put this over 1. 0 divided by 1 is still 0, and in order to cross multiply, we still have to put it over 1. Same thing. Top down, we get r minus 6 times 1, which is just r minus 6. And then bottom up, we get 7 minus 4 is 3 times 0. Don't be tripped up. 3 times 0 is 0. Move that 6 over by adding it, and you get r equals 6. When we check this, we get 6 right in here for r. 6 minus 6 is 0. And 7 minus 4 is 3. Now don't panic, because we get 0 over 3, which is still a slope of 0. It doesn't have to be perfect on the bottom, because any 0 divided by any number is still just 0. All right, moving on to the next page. I may have to do a second video because I am taking more time than intended on this. So I'm actually going to switch over to a second video now.